If I could have everyone's attention, please, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the June meeting of the Wilson County Board of Zoning Appeals. We have an agenda that has been prepared and it's been published and publicly noted. Is there anyone here today who has a case on our agenda that you want to have it withdrawn maybe, or you want to defer it to another meeting? Anyone to withdraw or defer?
Mr. Chairman, we do have one withdrawal. The case 4183, I-Trip Central Tennessee, on behalf of William Chapman at 8530 Saundersville Road. That applicant has withdrawn.
Okay, so 4183 has been withdrawn. We will not hear that this morning. Any other case to be withdrawn or deferred? And if not, the agenda will stand as corrected. If you would please turn off or silence your cell phones as a reminder. When your case is called, I'll read the case number, I'll read the application criteria. At that time, then the staff will give us their recommendations. They've made recommendations to the board in regard to each case, and we will be relying on those recommendations as we hear each case. But if you would please, once we've read the case and the staff's given us their recommendations, if you represent the particular case, please come to the podium. You can tell the board whatever you'd like to say. The board may ask you some questions. You can make any statement you wish, after which, if you're here to either support the applicant or speak in opposition, we'll give you an opportunity to do that also. So all that being said, if you do plan to make a statement in front of the board, whether it's in support or opposition, if you would please at this time raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in front of this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. There's a court recorder with us this morning that takes a transcript of our proceedings. The court recorder is provided at the expense of Wilson County. If you would like a transcript of a particular case, you can do so and obtain that at your expense. If you would please see the court recorder at the conclusion of our meeting today. I think I mentioned the staff recommendations. Also, as a reminder, the meeting this morning is being taped for broadcast on Wilson County TV. If you want to watch it later, you may do so on YouTube and some of the other platforms. And if you just want to maybe watch what you say, you are on television. So, turning to the members of our board, you have the minutes from our May meeting that were sent to you earlier in the month. At this time, to hear any corrections to the minutes from the month of May, and I think, Mr. Neal, you made a note to me earlier that there was a correction over on page 2. Word motion should have, what was that correction?
On case 4177, it says, and I'll quote, after discussion, motion was made to deny based on staff recommendation, seconded by Neal. It doesn't really say who made the motion.
Okay.
I'll get that fixed.
Karen's going to correct that.
Okay.
Okay. So have that one correction. Any other corrections? If not, do I hear a motion we approve the minutes from the month of May as corrected?
Motion to approve?
Have a motion to approve and a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? And if not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. All opposed vote no, and the ayes have it. Okay. The next item, the state of Tennessee requires that we have a public comment period, a general public comment period. This is a law that's been in place maybe, or just a few months now, not very long at all. But this is not a public comment in regard to any particular case. We're going to give you an opportunity to comment on the cases as we go through them. This is a general public comment period required by the state legislature, whereas you might want to share with the board some concern or thoughts you have. Is anybody wish to address the board during the general public comment period? And if there is none, I'll close the general public comment period. All right, moving into the regular agenda, case 4178. Norma Earhart, requesting a variance of 10 feet from the easement width requirement of 30 feet. The property became of record in Plat Book 3, page 3 in 1954, showing an easement width of 20 feet. And then again, Plat Book 17, page 620 in 1985. The property became a record prior to July 1974. The property is located at 378 Glen Harbor Road, Lot 6, Hickory Points Estate, Group A, Parcel 6, Wilson County Tax Map 51E. The property consists of 1.1 acres, zoned R1 residential. We get staff recommendations now on 4178.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance of 10 foot from the easement width requirement of 30 foot, leaving 20 foot to the property line. This is an older tract of record with the plat being recorded in January 1955. Staff can recommend approval of variances from easements. Staff will note that this property seems to be, and I completely messed that up, this is actually 10 foot from the easement width of 30 foot, so they're wanting a 20-foot easement instead of a 30-foot easement for a otherwise landlocked tract. This is an older tract of record with the plat being recorded in January of 1955. Staff can recommend approval of variances from easements. Staff will note that this property seems to be the only lot that will be affected by the variance, as it is the last property utilizing the easement. And therefore, staff can recommend approval. If you'll look, Green Harbor Road comes right here, and then it kind of turns right. And this, as we understand it, is a private, it's a non-maintained public right-of-way, as we understand it, but it looks like a driveway that serves maybe this house and this house and this house. And this tract right here is the one in question that's asking for the easement width variance.
So this easement's been in place since the 50s,
Yes, sir.
not getting any wider.
No, sir.
We would just allow them the right to utilize the 20-foot in lieu of the 30-foot that's currently required on a new plat.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4178 Earhart? Yes, ma'am. You want to come up to the podium?
Hey, Rusty.
Hold on just a minute. Well, you might.
We didn't have people sign.
I was hoping I wouldn't.
Hold on just a moment. Tom, did you have a sign-in sheet this morning?
There's one up there.
It's up
Okay.
there.
Okay. Did you sign in?
I don't think I did.
Okay. Why don't you give me your name and address for the record, then we'll just put it on the transcript.
It's Norma Earhart, and I'm at 378 Green Harbor Road, Old Hickory, Tennessee 37138.
Okay. And is there anything you'd like to tell the board?
Well, I just, I bought the house in December, and I need to put and it actually don't have no closets in it. So I'm gonna put me a closet at the back of the house, and that's what I was doing.
Got you. Okay. The board have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Does anyone else here wish to speak to 4178 Earhart? Okay, we'll close the public comment period. Thank you very much. And turn it now to the board for a motion or further discussion.
Just maybe one quick question for the record, maybe to clarify maybe with staff. It says something was done in 1985, but obviously that didn't do anything to compromise the grandfather status.
I believe in talking with staff, and I'll rely on them to help me with this if I get it wrong, but I think they either combined two lots or something to that effect, or modified the property lines, which technically could burn the grandfather status, but in this circumstance, it's actually improving what was already a landlocked situation
Thank you.
by substandard lot size, that kind of thing.
Any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion we approve do I hear a motion in regard to case 4178?
Motion to approve the
A motion to approve 4178, and I have a second. Any discussion?
Who was the motion? Crockett?
Mr. Crockett, seconded by Ms. Robinson. Okay, any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Next case is 4179, Angela Sanders, requesting a variance from the accessory size requirement of 420 feet for property without a house on the lot, and a variance of 28 feet from the rear yard setback requirement of 40 feet. The variance will allow the proposed structure to be 1,200 square feet and be 12 feet from the rear property line. The property is located at 835 Ramsey Road, Lot 14 and 15B. North side is Group A, Parcel 9 on Wilson County Tax Map 16E. Property consists of 14,000 square feet and is zoned A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations now on 4179.
Okay, this is going to have some similar characteristics to the last one in terms of the grandfather status, but we'll get to it here in just a moment. The applicant is requesting a variance from the accessory size requirement of 420 square feet for property without a house, as well as a variance of 28 feet from the rear yard setback. The zoning ordinance states that accessory structures on A1 zone property may not exceed 3% of the total lot area with a maximum size of 2,000 square feet, whichever's less. This is not an older tract of record, as the lot was created in March of 2023. However, the plat was created to combine two substandard lots that were older lots of record. Each of those were approximately 9,900 square feet and 3,900 square feet, and it just combined them into a larger lot. The new lot is still substandard in size at approximately 14,000 square feet, which can be viewed as a hardship in staff's opinion. Therefore, given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff can recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4179 Sanders? Yes, ma'am. Anything you'd like to give us your name and address, please?
It's Angie Sanders. My address is 1461 Woodside Drive, Lebanon, Tennessee, 37087.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the board?
No, sir.
Okay. Board have any questions for the applicant? This is pretty much identical to the last one in many respects, isn't it?
It's not an easement variance, but it is having to do with an older set of lots of record that.
You had a grandfathered
Yeah.
situation that technically they may have burned, but they actually made the old situation better.
A little better, yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
Do you plan on building on the lot at some point in time, or?
At some point, yes, sir.
I think that would be a challenge, but that's yet to be seen.
Do you have, maybe immaterial, do you have adequate room for the storage in a house and field lines or I'm assuming you got field lines on the property?
Yes, there's an existing septic tank, and the fill line's in the front, and that's why we're putting it further back, so as not to be so close to the septic
Yeah.
tank and the fill lines.
Are you going to use the accessory building for storage at this point?
Yes,
And-
that's our plans, yes.
We've had some of these come up before, one or two out in that area, and then other parts of the county, like around the lake and whatnot. I think this is out in that general area. And what we have done is stipulated that since the lot is so small, that we've stipulated that storage has to be inside the shed, inside the accessory building.
Okay,
You know, you can't have an accessory building without a house and then have a lot of stuff around it.
right,
It's just not enough room for all that to happen.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, my staff wish to point out that this is a very similar circumstance a couple of lots down. I'll point it this way for the public, where they've done I think they've come in and gotten a variance request or something and done a storage building.
Got you. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Does anyone else here wish to address 4179 Sanders? And if not, we'll close the public comment. Thank you, sir, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Turning to the board, is there any discussion or motion?
I make a motion we accept based on staff recommendation.
Have a motion to approve based on staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'd like to amend the motion that there be no outside storage at this accessory structure. Do you accept, Mr.?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Neal, okay. So the motion as amended is to approve 4179, stipulated that there'll be no outside storage. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you. Our next case is case 4180, Marion and Green Roofing, request to use the property to store and transfer propane tanks and park semi-trucks and trailers for over-the-road truck drivers. The property is located at 103 Spearhead Drive, Lot 1, Cedar View subdivision is Group A, Part 1, on Wilson County Tax Map 114P. The property consists of 5.02 acres and is zoned A1 agricultural. The property received an approval from the board for a contractor storage yard on August 22nd, 1997. We get staff recommendations now on 4180.
Mr. Chairman, as you stated, the applicant is requesting use of the property to store and transfer propane tanks and also park semis. This did come in on a zoning violation that the applicant is working with staff to address and clean up. There was some unserviceable vehicles and some junk and debris on the property that we had received a complaint on and addressed. The property received an approval from the board for a contractor storage yard on August 22nd, 1997. It is staff's opinion that the current use of the property can still be considered a contractor storage yard. With the removal of unserviceable vehicles on the property, staff can recommend approval of the propane tank storage. Staff will note that the applicant has been in contact with the Wilson County Fire Marshal regarding safety issues on the property, and it is staff's understanding that the property meets fire code requirements. We're also in receipt of a letter from the applicant regarding, I guess, the propane company that's leasing time or leasing space on the property that states that they are complying with state fire code requirements. I will pass that forward if you do not have it. You guys can peruse that. As for the parking of semi-trucks, which we understand has occurred on this property for an extended period of time, the board would need to interpret that the use is either grandfathered or approve the use in addition to the other use approvals received for this property.
I'm confused.
Yes, sir.
That's not new, I realize, but I'm still confused. If these uses could be viewed as relating directly to the contractor's yard, why are they here?
Well, we wanted to give you a shot at them because it's the original use. While we were not, current staff was not here when it was approved, we understand it was a contractor storage yard. It's our opinion that that probably could still fall within that. However, we weren't here the first time it was done as a contractor storage yard, and respectfully, it doesn't have to do with Marion and Green Roofing, which I understand still operates there. It's just something that they're leasing space for, if I understand correctly. I don't know if the applicant's here to talk about it or not.
Okay.
I guess, are we as a board to determine what is and is not allowable in a contractor's storage yard?
It would be. That's one of your responsibilities, is to interpret the zoning ordinance. And being that this was an older use on appeal approval, and they were requesting some use that we did not feel fell under the contractor storage yard, we felt like it was best to just give you the whole picture.
Which use was that?
The truck parking.
The truck parking.
Yeah, and the unserviceable vehicles, which they are in the process of cleaning up, if not already haven't cleaned up, and my zoning staff can tell you that.
Yeah, it's quite a busy lot. I'm familiar with it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4180, Marion and Green Roofing?
I am.
Yes, sir. Come forward, give us your name and address, please.
My name's Mark Vincent, and the address is 6851 East Old Murfreesboro Road, Lebanon, Tennessee.
And what would you like to tell the board, sir?
I don't really know. It's just, we've been, doing some contractor stuff on there for a few years now, and just like to continue to do that. if it's, if you guys approve it.
And y'all are storing propane tanks.
Yes, there's propane tanks on the site. They're all 20-pound bottles. There's nothing larger. They don't fill or dispense any propane from those tanks on the property. It's just a hub, a drop-off and a pickup hub.
And the semis that are parked there are what?
Just over-the-road truck drivers.
They run, they don't run?
They run. Yeah. I got one truck on the lot now that does not run, and it's supposed to be off by the end of the week, gone.
And what about the concession trailer? Didn't I see a concession?
No, yeah, it's gone.
Board have questions for the applicant?
I got one.
I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly, that the propane tanks are empty?
Empty. But according to Tennessee standard fire code, if it's empty, it's still considered full because it's had propane in it.
Are they all empty, or are they bringing some in full and taking some?
They bring full in and pick up the empties and take them away to get refilled. They take them to Pennsylvania, and that's where they fill them at.
It's
just a hub, terminal.
they've got,
So when she asked, are the propane tanks empty? Some are empty, some are full.
Some are empty, some are full.
By the letter that I'm sending out, it sounds as though they have, at any given time, 1,200 empties and 1,200 fulls on the
Approximately.
property.
Yeah,
they have a portable ramp, one that you would pull around, and they back it up, they back their trucks up to this portable ramp, and they take a forklift and they run in the truck and get the full ones out and put the empties on, it looks like.
yes.
And I'm assuming by the picture, they're on pallets.
They're on pallets. Everything's
They're
on,
on some kind of
yeah,
shipping.
OSHA-approved pallets.
And you've got 1,200 empties?
Approximately.
1,200 fulls?
Approximately 1,200.
How many pallets is that? How many propane tanks sit on a pallet?
Oh, I didn't count those. I don't know that for a fact.
Probably 12 or, 12 to 20
I
something.
guess it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's probably 20 on a pallet, 20 or so.
And I think each of his delivery trucks, if I read the letter correctly that I forwarded to you,
Yeah.
holds about 350.
Right. So when there's 1,200 in there, and then the truck will come in and take 350 of them away, maybe the same day.
Yeah, you know who I am, and
Yeah, I know.
I own property in the area, and I see this going on. What are these guys doing? They're over there pulling motors out of trucks and working on trucks?
There was one guy over there that had a truck broke down, a buddy of his truck broke down, and he pulled the motor out before him and put another motor in it for him. I told him we can't do that no more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here's a letter in our packet from Mark Vincent.
That's this guy.
That's me. Yes, sir.
In this letter, you said it's classified as commercial zone.
It is. No, I pay commercial taxes on it.
What we have, it's zone A1, agriculture.
That's correct.
So which is it?
It's Zone 1, but I pay commercial taxes on it.
Zoned
Yeah,
A1. It has a special use permit for a contractor's yard.
Right.
Issued in 97.
that's correct.
It's
Correct.
taxed
Yeah.
not on zone, but on use.
That's correct.
So if that's not confusing enough,
Yeah.
maybe we can sprinkle some
I got
more.
one other question. We got in our packet this picture here. Looks like a bunch of old vehicles on
They're
there.
all gone. Every
They're all
one of them
gone
gone.
now.
Every one of them.
Can you speak to that?
Yes, sir, I can confirm, me and Miss Karen went out to investigate on do what? Yeah, we went to go and investigate, and he was pulling out vehicles, and there was not that many vehicles left to pull out. So he was cleaning up the unserviceable vehicles.
Like I say, there's one left, and it should be gone by tomorrow.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? If not, who else wishes to speak to this case? Anyone? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Lee Richardson, 105 Spearhead Drive.
Michael Richardson.
Y'all at the same address?
I'm not, I'm the estate owner, and this is my father's.
Okay,
He's my conservator.
gotcha. What would you like to tell the board, sir?
Well, my house is bordered on the west, I call it the west and the north, my lot, with tractor trailers, junk vehicles. 3 trailers with flammable placards on them. With propane sitting on the ground. I mean, like tanks, I mean. There's constant noise. They've got 2 forklifts on the property. One regular forklift, one low, big contractor forklift that they're using to repair these trucks. And the propane people have got a forklift. And when they back up, they got that beep, 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 beep all the time. The trucks are using their air horns to back up. And I bought this property, it was all private behind me. But now I go out on the deck and all I've got is trucks and trailers and junk vehicles and constant maintenance being done on them. They even come in there and they change the tires on them.
Anything else? Go ahead, sir.
Are you in this vicinity? Right here?
It's the first one.
Right here?
That one right
He's right there on the corner, sort of.
Okay,
Yeah,
so.
that
back
picture
here.
doesn't show what's there now.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I've been here for 40 years in Wilson County, thanks to him. And, Wilson County is obviously one of the counties that I love, never wanted to move from it. It's family, and that's what I consider it. I'm sure everybody here has family as well. One thing that I've noticed is over the past several months is I get several calls from him, and it's about this lot and how obnoxious it is at all times of the day and at night. Seen the lot, very disturbing in regards to what I would consider for that area, a very quiet area, a very private area, especially for families. I'm a new father. He's now a grandfather, and it's an area that I want to bring my kid over to and feel safe. Propane tanks, whether they're empty, whether they're full, I don't care. They are literally within, 50 yards from his property. It's not an area that I would consider safe if I wanted to allow my child over at his house for him to spend time with his grandson, things like that, or have family events. Speaking of, obviously, when he gets older, things like that, getting curious, it's just an area that it's unsettling. In regards to that, I do have some photos attached in here. I don't know what was presented as far as what y'all had, but I would love to present.
Staff went out in April and took photos. You're welcome to submit yours if you'd like.
Okay. 2 particularly that I would love to enter into the exhibit is these 2 is right here.
When were they taken?
They're recent.
Let's see, I believe you have a timestamp for
And
those.
right now, they've got 3 trailers. Sunday, they had 4 trailers sitting there with flammable placards on them.
Back down.
Today, they've got 3 sitting there with flammable placards on them.
Anything else?
Based off that right there, obviously, that speaks volumes to me, trying to make sure that his area is safe, at least if I need to go to work, and let him be childcare and things like that.
We'll put these in the record. Okay?
And I've got emphysema, and I go out, and all I'm smelling is diesel fumes.
Thank y'all. for
Thank
your
you.
time.
All right, anyone else wish to address 4180 Marion and Green? Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't sign in here.
What's your name and address?
My name's Gary Cohn. I live at 111 Spearhead Drive. It's right there on the right side as we're looking at it.
Right here?
I moved here about 8 years ago after living in Central Florida for over 20 years. I sold my house down there and came up here and bought. 20 years of accumulating, I made a little bit of money, not a lot, but a little bit on it, and I've invested every bit of it in my house, all of it. And this right here will more than probably take that away. I don't think that's right. One thing happened when I was in Central Florida, the Blue Rhino plant. Now, I'm sure that they probably go by all the rules and regulations, everything being so big and drawing too much. But one night, for some reason, I was flipping through the TV channels, and I saw on there, and it looked like 4th of July exploding. They almost had a major catastrophe there. It can happen here. And I think with, it's already, I didn't realize that they were storing propane out there. I would never have bought that place here nor there. But I just don't think it'd be a safe place for my grandchildren.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to address Marion and Green, 4180?
He's got one thing that says.
Yes, sir?
Can I present something else?
Yes, sir.
There's probably 15 truck and trailers out there right now. What I've got is, it shows what's there. And I've got a thing from Mr. Cone. Where he opposes it. And Mr. Bryant, where they oppose it.
Okay, so these are people who received the county's notice of a hearing.
Yes, sir.
And they have handwritten back to the board that they have opinions, and these state what their opinions are. Tom, did you say we no longer read these into the record, or do we?
I'll leave that to Mike.
All right, Mr. Jennings, you're up.
Well, I'll have to go back to even more preliminary than that. The only testimony y'all are to consider is the testimony that's given under oath.
Right.
So those things, I mean, you can put them in the record.
But we
they're
should not consider
You
these.
should, no.
Yeah, gotcha.
It comes from testimony under oath.
Got you. Okay.
I think it wouldn't, can I just say one thing real quick? I think we allowed this during the pandemic.
Yeah, we did, but
And we were under executive orders then that allowed.
Mr. Chairman, might I ask the speaker a question? You're under oath. Are you stating that these neighbors signed their opposition to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But what the attorney is telling us is these people aren't here, they weren't sworn in, and we are only supposed to consider sworn testimony when we make these decisions. Okay. So we'll put these in the record, appreciate you bringing them, but it's not anything we can consider in determining what we're going to do today. I'll put them in the record for you. All right. Anything else? No. All right, thank you. These are all from folks on Spearhead. Anyone else? Y'all will pass these down to Karen, please. Thank you. All right. If there's no one else to address this case, I'll close the public comment period. And turning to the board now for discussion or a motion. And just let me add that this little area out there is pretty busy. You know, that car lot across the street, I think, is at least partially grandfathered, if not totally.
No, we go in periodically on them about the number of
cars.
Yes.
That lot goes back long before 74.
Okay, maybe so.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we've got the contractor storage yard that we're considering today that was approved, I believe, from Mr. McQuarrie back in the 90s, which was an extension. He had that building that Marion Green's in now was Mr. McQuarrie's, I think, around that time, and he got this approved as a contractor storage yard. And for many years, there wasn't anything much on it except contractor stuff. Is that correct? It's things y'all used in your roofing business. And this type of activity is of recent nature. The propane and the trucks haven't been there
Not to interrupt you, but
very long.
when you said that used to just be stuff on it that would be expected on a contractor's yard, well, that's because that's what it's zoned for.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah, that's a good
we didn't
point.
hear anything out of it, obviously, for years because they had roofing material stored on it.
It was a contractor.
It was a contractor's yard.
Honored.
And relatively recently, in my opinion, within the last, few years, these other activities have shown up. Anyway, now, turning to the board, do I hear a motion or further discussion? Yes, sir.
Let me make sure. 1997, agricultural A1, and they changed it to a storage yard, which I don't know that I agree with that. So today, we're asking to go from storage yard to storing these propane tanks. Okay.
Propane tanks and semi-parking
Okay.
are the two requests before you.
I'm just not comfortable with taking A1 agricultural. And
One thing that happens to us, and we've learned this over the years I have, is somebody gets a special use permit like here for a A1 piece of property, which at the time this was done, a contractor storage yard was an allowable use in the A1 zone. Correct?
Allowable use on appeal.
On appeal.
Yes.
So what they did in 97 was one of the listed uses on appeal back, way back when. Subsequently, it was taken out years later. The contractor's yard is no longer a use permitted on appeal in A1. Was way back when, it's not now. But another thing that I've learned over the years is that when we grant a special use permit, unless we specifically indicate so, the commercial requirements don't go with it. In other words, if we were going to grant a special use permit for a contractor's yard in a zone in which it's allowed, only the stipulations for landscaping, parking, stormwater, et cetera, that pertain to that particular zone go with it. If it's if it happens not to have the most stringent requirements, they don't telegraph through to the approval.
Yes, sir. If I might add to that, I personally have never seen, and Karen may correct me, but I've never seen the plot plan from the 1997 case that was submitted. I'm not sure there was one submitted. This does give you an opportunity, if you were to take action on this in a positive way, to apply conditions to the plot plan that's before you to perhaps improve some of the circumstance with regard to residential buffering, that kind of thing. Of course, it's also within your purview to recommend denial of it or defer it if you need more time to think about it. But you at least have the benefit of a plot plan. Yes, Karen, go ahead.
I did look to see, back in 97, I looked at the application, and there was not a plot plan submitted with the application back in 97.
Which that's been a requirement, to my knowledge, all along, to submit a plot plan with uses on appeal requests. It's been a requirement. I'm not saying it's been practiced.
Right. Got you. Okay. Again to the board.
I've got a
Discussion?
question. I don't know, because staff comments. Applicant has been in contact with the fire marshal regarding safety issues. Staff under the property meets fire code requirements. Could somebody elaborate on that? How many?
The fire marshal is here. If you wish to.
I mean, how close to a resident or house can you have propane? How many propanes?
Calvin, you want to come up and address that, please?
I just would like to be clarified on that a little bit.
And the question is in regard to the propane storage on this particular lot.
What's the protocol, or as far as how close to a house, how close to the property, how many tanks? I'm clueless.
We received a complaint a couple weeks ago about it. I contacted the owner of the property at Green, Mr. Vincent, I believe. I did talk to him on a recorded phone line in my office, and I let him know he's going to have to follow the fire code. There are safety distances, and I drove out to the property and took a look, the safety distances are met, but he's probably very close to capacity. That falls on fire code. So you all say what he can and can't have, but if he can have propane on the property, he's got to meet the safety distances, which is about 25 feet from a lot line, but he can't go over approximately 2,000 water gallons.
So is a 20-pound tank, how many water gallons?
I'm not doing any math right here, right now. We can do that next time or email, but I'm not going to do some equations in front of you right here.
There is a setback with you guys, and then there is a capacity.
Yeah, the setback was met. The capacity's right at the threshold. So it's something we're watching, and as a fire codes official, I'm going to enforce via fire code. So it's something that we're watching.
Okay.
We also received a complaint on burning, so I'll make that clear too.
On this lot?
There was burning taking place, and if any burning takes place in the future, we're gonna bring Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation in, because you can't bring in any off-site materials, and you can't burn anything unnatural. So I made that clear in the phone call too. Nothing can really be burned on the lot at all, because there's propane stored on the lot. So when TDEC becomes involved in something like that, it becomes significant.
So when you say burning unnatural, they
Rubbish.
were burning tree limbs on the that came off the property.
We were told we was burning rubbish on the lot.
How many lots are out there that Marion Green operates on? 2? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just since you asked, 1 gallon of water weighs approximately 8.34 pounds, which is compliments, I think, of Wiki. But
Then on the empty tank question you are talking about, that's true. If a tank's been filled, it doesn't matter if it's empty or full. It's considered a full tank unless it's come off the assembly line on an assembly line yard that makes the tanks and they're completely empty. Those can be considered empty. So if they've been filled and empty and turned back in, that's still a full tank.
I think I bought some of those. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Good information.
Appreciate it.
But we've got more than one subject here. I think it says talking about the parking of the trucks, either grandfather or had to approve that in addition to what the request is for today. Is that correct?
so, I'm sorry.
Need to approve also the parking of the tractor semi?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, I just think we're getting way out of the realm of A1 agricultural.
We are. However, at the time this was granted, again, this was a permitted, a contractor's yard was a permitted. Now, parking of semi-trailers is probably more appropriate in an industrial zone.
Right. So there's two things that we need to address, semis and the tank or the storage.
There are 2 issues, yes. Now, we can have one motion that addresses both of them, or we can address them separately. That's up to the
I
board.
think that would be appropriate.
So, now, we've talked about this quite a bit. Is anybody, do we need more discussion, or do I hear a motion in regard to 4180?
I got just I guess a statement. Going back to the first time it was appealed, I mean, I don't know what the definition, we've talked about contractor's yard, and at the time, I believe it was a roofing company storing items there. There was not semi-trailers stored there or anything else. And if he's granted that, that doesn't mean from that point on in the future, he can just store whatever he wants.
Let me back up. Do you remember, Mr. Vincent, what year y'all moved in out there?
I think it was 98 or 99.
So that approval, this 97 of approval, Mr. McQuarrie was still on the lot, you think? Okay. So when that was approved, probably the use was a excavation utility contractor, is what it was at the time.
Yeah, dozers and big dirt.
And
Tom, do we have a definition of a contractor's yard?
No, sir. I have tried pretty valiantly over the years, more than once, to try to get one implemented along with some requirements for them, and I've not been successful.
Checking.
Okay. Again, in regard to case 4180, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. Address both issues, denying the semi-trailer parking and also the storage of gas propane tanks.
Have a motion to deny both the semi-storage and the propane tank storage, and have a second from Mr. Blades. Any discussion? Let me check right quick. All right, if there's no discussion, all in favor of the motion, vote aye. Aye. Opposition, vote no. And the ayes have it. Okay, thank you for coming. Okay, our next case is case 4181. Kevin Lester is requesting a variance of 4 feet from the north side yard setback requirement of 15 feet. The variance will allow the garage to be 11 feet from the north side property line. The property is located at 516 Springmont Boulevard, Lot 26. Springmont subdivision is Group G, Parcel 5 on Wilson County Tax Map 52L. The property consists of .58 acres and is zoned R1 residential. We get staff recommendations now on 4181.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll bear with me for a minute, the property lines that are provided to us by the assessor's office are not survey grade, but this generally shows some of the issue. This applicant has built at some point across the property line, and you can see some of their structures there that were across the property line. They are proposing and have actually removed some of the encroachments that actually encroach across the property line, and are proposing to remove enough of some of their additions. And Karen, did they build without a permit initially?
Yes, they did.
Okay. They're proposing to remove enough of their improvements to get back 11 feet from the property line. They also happen to be within a public utility easement that there are some utility providers in. They do have an agreement with one of those utilities, I think it's Metro Water, Water and Sewer Service, that they are okay with the encroachment that is within the easement, but that the owner of the property will bear some responsibility if any damage should occur to the water line, sewer line, et cetera. With that, I'm going to proceed with my comments. The applicant is requesting a variance of 4 feet from the north side yard setback requirement of 15 feet. That means that the nearest improvement will, per this approval, be 11 feet from the property line. The variance is intended to fix an existing property line encroachment. Construction on the garage began in 2021 without a permit. In September of 2021, a stop work order was issued by the county. Upon review of the violation, it was determined that the garage crossed over the property line as well as into a Metro utility easement. Since then, the property owner was able to work with Metro Nashville, Davidson County's utility company, to get the impacted utilities deeded as his responsibility. However, the property line encroachment remains an issue. With the removal of the one garage bay to create the 11-foot setback and removal of the portion of the concrete pad that is crossing the property line, the situation has improved immensely. However, given the era of the plat being created in 1976, after zoning was applied in Wilson County, staff cannot recommend approval of the variance request.
Okay, who's here to represent 4181 Lester? Yes, sir. Give us your name and address, please.
Kevin Lester, 516 Springmont Boulevard, Old Hickory, Tennessee.
And what would you like to tell the board, sir?
Sorry for the inconvenience.
But currently, you're violating the setback and possibly the property line.
Yes.
Have you torn down enough stuff to where you are back off the property line, or you're just going to do that?
No, I've already tore down one, and the other one is just like 1 foot over the property line right now, and I'm going to tear that whole bay down.
So you think there's still a portion of the structure that's over the property line?
Yeah, maybe 1 foot.
But your plans are to tear that down?
Yes, ma'am.
Tom, what's the side yard setback that we're dealing with here?
15 foot.
15.
And this because it's attached to the house. Effectively, it was a garage addition.
So there's a 15-foot requirement, and if he tears down another bay, he'll only encroach 4.
Yes. The gentleman uses it for, Mr. Lester, you correct me, but uses it more or less to work on hot rods that are under your ownership?
Yes, sir.
Tom, you were saying if it were unattached and it were in the rear yard, there'd be, what, a 10-foot side yard setback or 5?
If it were unattached, well, depending on when it was built, if it were unattached at present, it would need to be 10 foot off.
I thought I saw something in here about a Facebook page.
Back page has got something on it. Something like this,
Yeah.
on the back of your package, back 2 pages.
Oh, okay. That's what I was looking for.
By the way, I do like the car.
Thank you, sir.
Has the building inspector been out since these violations were issued?
Yes.
They are not present here today, though, to answer questions. So.
Were there violations from that inspection, from the building inspector?
What was the question?
Building inspector, the person has been out to your place since this violation was noted.
Well, you've got the zoning inspector here, and I think that Karen, do you want to answer some of that?
This was back before Ty was here or the office was too. So Daniel Broderick, I think, was the inspector that went out and posted the stop work. And Daniel was also a building inspector too, but he also was the one that did the inspections just for the complaints and notice of violations. Now I'm speaking just, I don't think the building was inspected because there hasn't been a permit for it. So if you're talking in regards to codes inspection, then no, that has not been done because there hasn't been a building permit applied for because he couldn't apply for one because of the encroachment over the property line and in the public and utility and drainage easement.
And
To get to a codes inspection, he's going to have to get this rectified.
And this is a garage, right?
Yes, I guess you'd consider that, yes, sir.
Double garage.
And it's just a garage for your own use, your own stuff?
Yes, right.
I got you. Okay. All right. The board have any other questions for the applicant?
I'm a little curious here. You didn't get a building permit, you didn't, right?
No, ma'am.
So if you went over and you encroached over, that's Metro.
That's what?
Metro?
It's not Metro Davidson County property line, but it's their utility provider.
He was able to get utilities from Metro.
Yes, Metro Water and Sewer Service serves the entirety of Springmont subdivision, even though it's in Wilson County. I think it was the old Cumberland Utility District that Metro took over.
Yeah, way back when there was a Cumberland utility that operated down there. Okay. If the board doesn't have any more questions for the applicant, is there anyone else here who wishes to address 4181 Lester? Come forward, please, if you do. Yeah. If you would, sir, have a seat. We'll hear from these other people.
My name is Stacy Carpenter, and I live at 520 Springmont Boulevard. And our property is the one that he went over when he built the existing structure that's there. It's on part of our property, but we would have never known that. We didn't know it was part of our property until he did what he did. It's just been very unsightly, and I would just like for it to be tore down or let him finish doing what he wants to do with it, because I'm tired of looking at an unfinished structure.
Okay.
And that's really all I have to say.
My name's William Carpenter, and it's just an eyesore. We just want it finished and resolved.
Got you. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Robert Fields, 500 Suffolk Court. I'm the county commissioner for the district. I used to get several complaints from neighbors about this property. They told me that Mr. Lester was very vindictive and they did not want to make the complaint themselves. So I said I would take on that responsibility. Based upon history, I would recommend that you respectfully deny this based upon the staff's recommendation of denial. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, we'll close the public comment on 4181 and turn into the board for a motion or discussion.
I got a question, Roger.
Yes, sir.
Are we premature of ruling on this based on the fact that he doesn't have a permit and he needs to get in compliance before we can get the permit?
Well, possibly, and I sort of question giving any kind of action while the structure still stands.
That's,
you know, we take action and then what happens? It may or who knows? I don't know. So that is possible.
If we take action, he would have to come in compliance to what our action was, would he not? Whether it be tear it down to within 11 feet of the property or tear it down all the way to 15 foot.
Yeah, tear it down all the
He
way.
would have to come in compliance with
He would.
with whatever our action.
The zoning violation with your action, if you choose to take action one way or the other, the zoning violation would stand until he came into compliance, or it would be turned over to Mike if.
Violation, which, based on our action, he has to comply with our action before he goes to get a permit. And his permit is going to be compromised by the fact he's already built part of it.
Yes, sir. He's probably going to have to get engineering certifications. I will also mention one other concern that's been brought forward, which is commercial use of the property. In his testimony today and also in his testimony to me on site when we went out to do our field review, because he happened to be there, he stated that the cars that he was working on were in fact his cars. They were not a business. So,
but there has been.
I don't have any means to.
There's been someone who's claimed otherwise?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've received several phone calls in regards to running a business on this property. I have not received like an online complaint form that's been filled out, but I have received numerous phone calls, one this morning, one last week, and one a while ago.
So, I mean, I get.
In regards to running a business on the property, but like I said, I have not received any.
The reason I bring it up is in case you wish to make it clear that commercial operations are not permitted in this R1 residential zone district with any action you take.
So the issue here is if we deny, he has a 15-foot setback to comply with.
That's correct.
If we grant his request, he has an 11-foot setback to comply.
That's correct. And removal of any encroachments across the property line. And I think there's some concrete pad and stuff that needs to be cut back.
We don't do private stuff, but we can stipulate that our approval is based on getting back on the property, I suppose.
Right.
Okay. All right. Again, to the board, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny based on staff recommendations.
Have a motion to deny 4181 based on staff recommendations.
Second.
And I have a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank all y'all for coming. Our next case is case 4182, I-Trip Central Tennessee, on behalf of John Trout, is requesting to use the property for a short-term rental. The property is located at 7797 Murfreesboro Road, parcel 15.03, on Wilson County Tax Map 142. The property consists of 60 acres and is zoned A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations now on 4182.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to use the property for a short-term rental. Staff will note that this property is currently in the process of being subdivided as part of the Midway Mill subdivision as proposed on preliminary plat that has received approval. The subdivision is currently in the preliminary phase, so it still remains to be seen if a final plat will be filed. If the proposed subdivision is approved, this property with the house on it is proposed to contain approximately 2.5 acres. There's not a minimum acreage requirement for short-term rentals on A1 zone property, meaning that the subdivision does not technically impact this variance request whatsoever. We just wanted you to be aware because at present, the request before you would apply to the entirety of the property, which I'm drawing a blank on how much acreage it is, but
60.
Yeah, 60 acres, whereas at some point in the future, with the proposed lot, it would apply to 2.5 acres surrounding the house.
Wait, stop right there now. Is this 2.5 acres not platted that way?
It's not platted, no. I'm just pointing it out because we just happen to be aware of it.
Well, I think that's important, that
Yeah.
if we were to grant approval, we would need to stipulate the 2.5 acres. Is it preliminarily platted, or?
It's not platted at all. It's got a preliminary plat approval. So they've not done anything in the Register of Deeds office to establish a legal tract of record.
Okay, but we would need some kind of, if we wanted to, we would need to put some kind of
stipulation on it.
acreage stipulation. Okay, go ahead.
I believe, let me see. Staff has received a business plan stating how the applicant is considering using the property. If the use is granted, staff recommends that the business plan be made a part of the approval and put the applicant on notice that if they're to add any sort of structure or expansion to the use of the property, they'll have to come back before the board for a plot plan submittal and revised business plan approval. The business plan states the desired number of guests allowed per stay is 6 and the home is perked for 3 bedrooms. The business plan states the caretakers are located within 10 miles of the short-term rental proposal. Airbnb short-term rentals are a use permissible on appeal in the A1 zone district. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff can recommend approval. If the board approves the request, the applicant will have to make their contact information available to WEMA, the building inspector, and the county sheriff's office. The applicant will also need to prove that they are the caretaker, live within 10 miles of the property before the house can function as a short-term rental. And when I talk about contacting of WEMA and the county sheriff's office, I'm really looking for them to get on the emergency dispatches contact list for such uses, a short-term rental, which they maintain a list of. And that should something come up in the middle of the night that's of an ambulatory nature, or emergency nature, or just disturbance of the peace nature, they've got somebody to contact.
Okay. All right, who's here to represent 4182?
Joseph and Andrew Langston with I-Trip Central Tennessee, 2325 Clare Park Drive, Franklin, Tennessee.
Anything that you'd like to share with the board, sir?
We are basically just talking about this home that is already there. We're not involved with the subdivision part of it at all. We're a professional property manager. We're fairly new to the community. Hope to be back before you again with other homes. As you can see, we did have one that we had to wait on a few things to be straightened out. But we are clearly here to abide by everything that the zoning ordinances require.
Board have any questions for the applicant?
Is this land, this property right here, is it inside a subdivision?
Not at present. It's, that may be a question you can clarify for the board. Is your intent for your occupants, if you will, that rent from you to make use of and enjoyment of the entire 60-acre tract, or simply the home and a certain amount of acreage around the house?
Just the acre, just probably that 2.5 acres.
This house fronts on 231 South. Someone bought the house and 60 acres, and they are, I guess, currently developing the 60 acres into a subdivision.
Yes.
It has a preliminary plat?
Is that correct?
Okay, so it has a preliminary plat, and that's why it seems sort of odd.
Yeah.
This is the house right here?
This house is, they're going to break it off, I guess.
Correct.
And it would be a separate track,
It will be, yes.
and it faces the highway. And
This is the house right here?
Yes.
yeah,
And you may recall it if you've been down through there. It's got a pretty unique blue siding
It's a beautiful home.
on the house on the left as you're going towards Murfreesboro before you get to Jennings Pond Road.
There is a picture in there, but it's
cracker box style, isn't it? It's
salt box, I believe is the
salt box,
term.
excuse me, salt box. Well, I didn't know. Hold on.
That sounds like something I'd come up with. It's a cracker box.
I didn't know what salt box was either, so.
Okay. Questions for the applicant from the board? If not, does anyone else here wish to address this case? Okay. All right, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you all very much. And turning to the board for a motion or further discussion. And I will move that we approve 4182 with the stipulation that this approval is for an occupancy of 6 residents only. The business plan will be made a part of this approval, and this approval will pertain only to this particular existing home and a acreage not to exceed 2.5 acres. I have a second. I have a second.
Do we want to approve it for just a one-year time?
Oh, and we got to put our time limit on it. I forgot about it. And that this approval, we do these on, I think, customarily 1, 3, and 5 years. So this permit, initial permit, will be for 1 year.
What do we need to do after that 1 year?
Reapply, and if there have been no complaints, we normally will approve them for a 3-year, and then after that, if there have been no complaints, we would normally go 5. Now, that's,
We do the 1 year in case there's a boatload of complaints or there's an issue, then we can deny the second request or the second renewal.
Mr. Chairman, I believe.
I'm going to add to my motion the 1-year time frame. You okay with that?
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you typically, I think it's in the business plan, but you also typically address quiet hours, so.
It's in the plan.
Okay.
I already looked it up.
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you.
Who was the second?
Mr. Blades.
Thank you.
Okay, 4183 has been withdrawn. So we are ready for 4184. Goodard Construction Remodeling, on behalf of Dean Tozer, is requesting a variance for a property that doesn't have a recorded plat. The property became of record in 1983. The variance will allow the property owner to receive a building permit to replace the existing house that was built in 1945. The property is located at 13710 Central Pike, parcel 48 on Wilson County Tax Map 101. The property consists of 1.42 acres and is zoned R1 residential. We get staff comments now on 4184.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance for a property that doesn't have a recorded plat. This is not an older tract of record, as the property was created in 1983, well after our adoption of zoning in 1974. However, there is an existing home on the property, therefore staff can recommend approval. Staff will note that if approval is granted, an updated plat should be created for the property and recorded, making it a legal tract of record.
Okay, who's here to represent 4184?
I am.
Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Victoria Goddard, 1006 John Wright Road, Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
And do you realize or understand what he had just mentioned, that if this is approved, they want us to stipulate that you will get a corrected plat?
A recorded plat.
Yeah, recorded plat adopted for the, or
We
submitted,
would want to do
reviewed,
that
adopted.
anyway going forward to make it legal.
It'll be cleaner for them going forward in terms of sale of property and everything else.
Gotcha. Okay, anything you'd like to tell the board?
No.
Okay. Board have any questions for the applicant? Okay, does anyone else here wish to address 4184 Goddard? If not, then I'll close the public comment period. Thank you. Turn into the board for a motion or discussion.
I make a motion, we agree on, based on staff recommendation.
With a recorded plat?
Yes.
With a record, okay, I have a motion to approve with the stipulation that a recorded plat be filed with the registrar's office. To have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no, and the ayes have it. Thank you. Our next case is case 4185. Patricia Hoffman, on behalf of David Rowland, is requesting a variance of 7 feet from the west side yard setback requirement of 10 feet. The variance will allow the proposed detached garage to be 3 feet from the west side property line. The property is located at 1026 Rome Pike, Lot 8, Christie Jordan, Group C, Parcel 8 on Wilson County Tax Map 59N. The property consists of 40,000 square feet and is owned R1 residential. We get staff recommendation now on 4185.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance of 7 feet from the west side yard setback requirement of 10 feet, leaving 3 feet to the property line. Upon site review, staff noted that the existing concrete on site is not a slab, but part of the paved driveway that's already in existence. Staff also noticed that a building separation variance would also be needed. It appears that the corners of the structures are roughly 4 feet apart, whereas we typically require 8 feet of separation. This is not an old attractive record, with the lot being created in September of 1974, which is unfortunately 2 months after zoning was established per our records in Wilson County in 1974. Staff sees little adverse effect if these variances are granted. However, given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4185 Hoffman? Rowland.
Hi, my name's David Rowland. I live on 1026 Rome Pike, Lebanon, Tennessee. What I'm asking for is, I already had a carport on there, on the slab and everything, and I just want to turn it into a garage.
How long has the slab been there?
I bought the house, last year in May of 2023, and it was existing, and I'm not sure. It's in great shape.
Okay. And there was a carport?
Yeah, there was already an existing carport.
And this is going right on the existing slab? I mean, it's not going to be any bigger?
No, it's going to be just a little bit bigger, but just because of, to accommodate the cars.
This plan here shows it being 30 by 24.
It's actually going to be 25 by 24.
25 by 24. Okay. You know how big the existing slab is?
The existing slab is right now is 27 by, I think it's about 28.
Gotcha.
With the slab to be replaced, correct? Like it's on I think it says it's on a paved driveway instead of concrete.
It's on asphalt driveway right now. And they also said that it's okay to put it, to mount it to the.
Who is they?
The builder, the one that's going to do the building of the. There was an option that you could do it. They had it where if you could do it on, say, dirt, they have a structure that they could do it, or on asphalt, they have a mounting part where they could do it, or on concrete.
If it's approved, just know that you do have to get a building permit for it, and there will be codes inspections with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Hold on, just, we may not be through. Does the board have any questions for the applicant? Now we're through.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else here wish to address 4185 Roland? If not, I'll close the public comment period.
I've got a question for staff in the comments. So the lot being created in September of '74, 2 months after zoning was established. So had it been created 2 months earlier, would it have been grandfathered in?
Grandfathered in. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty tight window.
Yes, sir. I just, by the letter of the ordinance.
I understand, right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that, and I wanted that on the record, yeah, okay.
You know, thinking back 50 years ago, I wondered just how long it took word to get out about what, you know, what they'd done and what it meant.
Absolutely.
They probably didn't have a lot of cell phones, did they?
No, but I know some old men that were pretty upset about it. All right. In regard to 4185, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we approve this based on the fact of the age of the lot and how, you know, when it was existed. Just
Okay. Have a
not
motion.
grandfathered in, but just based on the age of it.
All right. Have a motion to approve 4185. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. If there's no discussion, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you for coming. Tom, do you have anything else for us?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we do have an intern this summer, Miss Jenna Hall. I think she's still over there. I can't see her. And she is a Lebanon High School student that is housed in the Wilson County Planning Office. There are several interns operating in different departments across the county right now, and Jenna happens to be ours. She is also the granddaughter of Bev in the assessor's office. So.
Okay. Welcome.
Keep an eye on time. Keep an eye on time for us.
Anything else?
No, no, sir.
We're adjourned.